Hey guys, so today we're going to talk about sleep. And as most of you have probably noticed in your lives, that when you don't get enough sleep, your productivity tanks, your resilience tanks, literally everything is so much harder to do. It's harder to work out, it's harder to lead, it's harder to do everything that you want to do. We actually have studies that show that when you don't get enough sleep, when you don't get good quality sleep, you actually cannot feel as many positive emotions as if you were getting good sleep. So your ability to feel good actually diminishes. But unfortunately, all of the negative emotions are still there, and you still get all of those, but your positive emotions have tanked because you are not getting enough sleep. And I don't have to tell you guys that sleep is really important. We've had all this research come out recently about the importance of sleep. And now that we all kind of know how important sleep is to our health, we're all trying to optimize our sleep. The thing is that there's actually a lot of really good evidence on sleep. A lot of the recommendations that I see kind of in the popular magazines, newspapers, blogs, etc., are not the most scientifically valid recommendations, which is crazy because honestly, the science says your blue light blocking glasses and your sleep hygiene aren't going to do that much for your sleep. And that is what people are focusing on. And I think we really need to focus on different things when it comes to sleep to really make our sleep better and to really become as productive, as happy as we can be with good quality sleep. Okay, so in this video, I'm going to present 4 things that are scientifically validated to improve your sleep. And I'm going to guess that at least 3 out of 4 of them you have never heard before. Okay, so first we need to kind of get out of the way the usual sleep kind of related advice. But what I like to refer to this is really respecting our physiology. The thing is that sleep is going to come a lot easier when you've been active. So when you've been physically active, when you actually walk around during the day, do some exercise. That doesn't mean you have to run a marathon every day, but it does mean that your body will sleep better after it has had a good amount of physical activity, because our bodies just work better with physical activity. The second is you really need to respect the time before you sleep. And that really means not drinking caffeine, not eating a ton of sugar, because that is actually also a stimulant. A lot of people don't think about this, but if you are eating a lot of sugary snacks before going to sleep, that's gonna the sugar rush is real, right? Like, we have that term for a reason. That's gonna stimulate you and really decrease your quality of sleep. And when it comes to quality of sleep, I actually wanna make a note here that quality trumps quantity every single time. So if you keep hearing this whole thing about like get 8 hours of sleep, get 8 hours of sleep or whatever, 10 hours of sleep, the more the better. Actually, the more is not better. Every person is very unique. We call it bio-individuality. And so for you, you might be able to function at your optimal in like 6 hours of sleep, while someone else might be functioning at their optimal with 8. It is all about the sleep cycle and not actually about the duration. So if your body becomes actually really efficient in consolidating the sleep cycles to give you better quality of sleep, then you actually will most likely feel more rested and more energetic, which is super counterintuitive to kind of all of the advice that's going around right now, is that everyone's like, oh, more sleep, just make sure you get, your 8 hours. It's like, actually for you, 8 hours might not be the optimal. You kind of really need to test it out, and using these following strategies, you'll be kind of able to see maybe you can make your sleep more efficient and actually benefit from it more. Another thing that's really important in respecting your physiology is making sure that you get a big dose of bright light right in the morning. So preferably when you wake up, preferably natural light. But if you are not able to get natural light in the morning, blast yourself with those like bright lights in your home, and don't have the dimmer on when you wake up. Make sure that you actually turn the lights on full blast right when you're drinking your coffee or doing whatever, or if you're able to go outside, stand outside 5 minutes. You don't have to live in sunny California to do this. Even cloudy bright light is fine. But this really helps your body to kind of set its circadian rhythm and know that this is, when we woke up, and now from And from that moment on, the body kind of does a little bit of like a countdown until it's time to go to sleep. And if you don't get that bright light in the morning, then your body isn't really able to do kind of that natural countdown. Okay, and one last thing is don't drink alcohol before you go to sleep. I know that this is like this kind of old wisdom that you can, have a drink before bed and that helps you sleep. That is completely wrong. I have nothing against alcohol, but just stop drinking it before you go to sleep. It's kind of destroying your sleep, and it might make you sleepy, but it kind of messes up with your sleep rhythm. So it probably leads you to wake up more tired, or maybe interrupts your sleep at night. Those are really common effects of alcohol. So if you do want to drink, just try to drink a few hours before you actually go to sleep. So maybe like 3 hours, so the alcohol is kind of out of your system. So the earlier the better. Maybe go to happy hour. Like happy hour is fine. Drink at 4, and then you'll be fine by the time you go to sleep. Okay, so number 2 is we need to respect our chronotypes. So there's actually 4 sleep chronotypes, and these are almost like personality types. I'm sure most of you have heard of like the morning bird or the night owl. Well, there's actually more. There's 4. And I know that Professor Bruce, Dr. Bruce, is really prominent in the field of developing these chronotypes, and he has a really great quiz on his website to let you know which chronotype is your chronotype. It's super quick, it's super easy, it's free. I've actually met Professor Bruce at a lecture before. He's great. And so if you want to take that quiz, just follow the link below. I'll link it below. And it's kind of fun to know your sleep chronotype, because respecting your sleep chronotype is so important. In our society, we just kind of think that all of us should lead this kind of 9 to 5 life. Like all of us should wake up at 9 a.m. or I guess, no, you can't wake up at 9 a.m. because that's when your workday starts. So you wake up at what, like 7 a.m. and then you work, and then you come home and you go to sleep at like 9, 10, or, maybe like 8 if you're me. The thing is that we, again, have a lot of bio-individuality. That is the word of the day. That means that we are all extremely unique in our biology. And we actually have 4 types of people. And of course, like everything, these buckets are kind of false buckets, and everything usually exists on a spectrum, but you guys all know this because you're super smart. So the sleep chronotypes are important to know, because if you are kind of working a job that requires you to wake up at like 5 a.m., but you are the chronotype of a wolf, this might be really difficult for you, and at least you will know why it's difficult, and that you're not just like being lazy, or you kind of have insomnia or whatever. Just remember that these chronotypes are indicative of your natural sleep patterns, and they need to be respected, and they are okay. You should not feel judged for not being one of those people that wakes up early in the morning, because that is not most of the population. Okay, so I'm gonna go through the sleep chronotypes, and you might be able to just identify yourself as I describe them. Okay, so number 1, we have bear. Bear is kind of like your super average chronotype. This is like the person that thrives on the kind of current cultural sleep cycle we have in most Western countries, and they really follow the rhythm of the sun. Bears usually wake easily and go to sleep with really no problem, and they kind of just follow the usual sleep pattern and go to sleep at around 9, wake up at 6, or 10 to 5, something like that. And they often do experience a little bit of a post-lunch dip around 2 to 4 in their energy. Okay, so second chronotype is the wolf, and the wolf is what you would consider a night owl. So the wolf goes to sleep quite late, later than most of their peers. The wolf actually feels the most energetic when they're able to wake up at noon. And they're often also the type of people that like to really work late at night. They experience high levels of productivity after 6 p.m. So again, if you're a wolf, you might not be able to abide by kind of the normal work cycle. And the nice thing is that a lot of jobs are becoming more flexible. And with kind of our remote work movement, we're able to really accommodate for all of the chronotypes, not just bears. Okay, so the next one is the lion. And this is like that freakish morning person that wakes up at like 4 a.m., has tons of energy, and is like super excited about life, experiences all of their productivity in the morning. and then they like to go to sleep at like 8 p.m. And that is myself. I've always kind of identified as kind of like an old person because I do like to go to sleep so early, and that's how I feel my best. But now I know that it's just my lion chronotype, and it's just the way it is. It's what my body likes to do. And now for the last one, that is the dolphin. And I am so sorry if you're a dolphin, because the dolphin is essentially kind of indicative of insomnia. So if you actually have trouble following a sleep schedule and you kind of have a random sleep cycle, then this would be indicative of you being a dolphin. And dolphins often don't get enough sleep because they have a very high sensitivity to sun, to light, to noises. They're just not great sleepers. The good news is that they do have their peak productivity window between 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. So that's kind of a nice optimal window there during the workday. And it's just a great time to get things done for them. And if you are a dolphin, don't fret, because some of the following tips that I have will actually allow you to really kind of maybe improve your sleep cycle and actually get those good quality stretches of sleep. Okay, and now for your third tip, and this is coming from the science from CBT-I. Most of you know what CBT is. It is cognitive behavioral therapy. CBT-I is actually cognitive behavioral therapy for insomnia, and it is an extremely highly effective technique to treat insomnia. The issue is that a lot of people are not trained in it and they do not know about it. So if you do have insomnia and you struggle with sleep, this is definitely something to look into. And I'm going to offer 2 techniques from CBT-I, which are really the main techniques in this method, to kind of help you get started if you're interested in this. And really anyone can benefit from this, even if you do not identify as someone with insomnia and you just want to kind of improve your sleep. So the first is called stimulus control. If some of you remember from like basic psychology, if you ever took that, Pavlovian conditioning, Pavlov conditioned his dogs to salivate based on the ringing of a bell. So we have kind of like a stimulus here and then a response, and basically eventually you do not need to create the reward in order to have that response. So sleep kind of works in the same way, in which we kind of, our stimulus is the bed. So we go into the bed and we kind of expect to sleep. So if we are good sleepers, then we have kind of a healthy loop here, like a virtuous cycle. So if we are good sleepers, we get into our bed and we sleep. This is kind of our stimulus and response. When we get into the bed, we expect to sleep. And this is great, and it creates a virtuous cycle. The issue is that when we start having some restless nights, when we have some trouble sleeping, what happens is that we create a little bit of a vicious cycle. So we get into the bed and then we don't sleep. And then we start kind of being even almost a little bit like afraid of going to bed, because our brain knows, hey, I remember all of those times we got into the bed and we didn't sleep, and that really sucked. And so we're going to predict that for next time. So you get into the bed, you have kind of all of this anxiety about sleeping because your brain's predicting that this time is going to go like the previous times that you tried to sleep. In order to interrupt this pattern, what CBT-I encourages is to get out of bed anytime you are feeling kind of bad in bed. Bad in bed. But you know what I mean. So when you are feeling anxious, when you are feeling like you're turning, tossing, etc., and you can't sleep, do not allow yourself to be in the bed. Do not create that kind of neuro loop in your mind in which you associate the bed with poor sleep. Get out of bed, watch a show, go, read a book, sit on your couch. Do not have those moments of restlessness in your bed, because we want you to associate your bed with good sleep always. So if you are having trouble sleeping, do not stay in your bed. Just leave the bed, go to the living room, wherever you need to go, but only allow yourself to get into the bed once you are kind of sufficiently tired. Don't ever have the bed be a space for a lot of kind of anxiousness or negative emotion, if that makes sense. So, go be anxious on the couch. That's fine. We can associate the couch with anxiety because we don't rely on it for sleeping. Most of us don't, I hope. Okay, and then this is your last 4th tip, and this is another CBT-I intervention. And what it is that it's called sleep restriction, which sounds absolutely terrifying. You're like, I'm already sleep deprived. I'm watching this sleep video because I have bad sleep, and now you're telling me to restrict my sleep? No. Okay, so I know that this is a super bad naming. Everyone kind of agrees that this is a poor naming of the intervention. But what sleep restriction really is, it's about optimizing your sleep drive. And we actually know sleep drive is one of the biggest indicators of good quality sleep. And what happens is that essentially sleep is kind of like hunger. So in order to really enjoy like a super tasty meal, you want to be pretty hungry, right? Like if you just ate lunch and then I give you like your favorite meal, you're not going to enjoy it that much. You want to build your hunger. Hunger is like a drive, right? It builds. And so sleep is similar. You want to actually really build up your need for sleep. And that might mean only sleeping within a certain period. So we want you to kind of really restrict your sleeping window. And that typically means no naps and no kind of lying in bed, trying to go back to sleep off and on. It means to really constrict it. And what happens is that when we constrict this window, it kind of sucks for like about a week. And you know, I've been there. I've actually done this. So I completely empathize. But I'm telling you, like this stuff actually really, really works. If you look up CBT-I and look up kind of evidence for it, and the efficacy of it, you will see that this is an extremely effective intervention. And it's really counterintuitive to almost like everything you read these days, which is so interesting to me. And I feel like that's kind of the reason why we have so many sleep problems as a society, because we're really not using the best techniques. So back to sleep restriction. What you're going to want to do is you're going to want to create a window of sleep. So it could be like 9 to 5, 9 to 4, depending on kind of your guesstimate of how much sleep you need. And you don't want to make that window too large. So you don't want like a 10-hour window. You want to consolidate your sleep to as little as possible, really, for you to feel good. So that doesn't mean like you crazies like going out there only sleeping 4 hours. What I mean is like kind of an average time for you to sleep. And so what I've been doing myself is sometimes I kind of had that drive to really go to sleep at like 7:30, which is so early. I know most of you are like, what is she doing? But as a lion, I really kind of want to go to sleep quite early. But when I do go to sleep at 7:30, I wake up at like 2:30 a.m. and I'm like, wide awake, and I feel like I haven't gotten enough sleep. And what's happening there is that my body hasn't really built up the sleep drive to really get that full sleep cycle that I need. So what I've been doing lately is I've been going to sleep an hour later at 8:30 p.m. And at first it was a little bit of a struggle, which I know most of you out there are like staying up till 8:30 is a struggle, but it is for me. It was for me at least. And now for me, I'm able to stay up till 8:30, and then I'm able to really get that good quality sleep cycle. And I typically now wake up at about 4:30, and I actually wake up feeling rested and actually refreshed. So what you really want to do is get rid of the naps, get rid of kind of lying around in bed, get rid of any extra there. You really want to cut it, and you want to stick by that restriction as much as possible and stick by that window. So I hope that this helps you guys. And if you have any questions, feel free to comment below. Sleep is not necessarily my specialty, but I have done quite a bit of research on it because I've noticed that with my clients, it is something that really makes you or breaks you in relation to kind of work success and being able to do the things that you want to do. And it is really the foundation to leading a good life and having health and productivity and achieving your goals. So I hope this was helpful, you guys, and take the sleep quiz. Let me know what type you are. I'm curious to know. It's kind of fun. We all love quizzes. Okay, so I will see you guys next week with another video. I hope you're all doing well, and take care.